All right, I have 8 o'clock. We'll call to order the meeting of the Franklin Redevelopment Commission. We'll start off with a roll call. Paul Buning. Here. Brian Deppy. Here. Keith Fox. Here. Buchan here. Danny Vaught. Here. Richard Works. Here. I declare we have a quorum. And the first item of business are the minutes from the April 19th, 2016 meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. We also have any old business at this point? Here we are, so we'll move into new business. I think the first item is a parking lot agreement with Johnson County. I don't know that we need to take any action on this today, just kind of mull over I think what all of you may have already received via email. We've been approached by the county to do a 50-year agreement regarding several, I guess, the parking places over on the old annex building. I don't know, again, we're not going to take any action today. I think in this case, there probably needs to be some additional discussion between the city and the county, and will not really, I think, take it up at this point. Is that fair? Okay. Mayor?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Good morning, all. I would strongly urge this board to not enter into an agreement with the county for 50 years. At this time, we're still having conversations. I think 50 years is a bit excessive, and encourage you to allow us to continue to have conversations.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I looked at it and I scratched my head last night and I said, what's in it for the city? I don't see anything in it for the city at all.
Correct.
Thank you.
It is an agreement that they sent over to us last Monday, just a few hours before the commissioner meeting and the county council meeting. I had not seen it before, or heard of it.
I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed something.
Nope.
Anything else relating to this topic? Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next item is an update on the Shell building. I know that there's been some things going on behind the scenes, and we have with us today, I know Chris King's here with Redevelopment, Fred Linville and Charlotte Sullivan are here. And I know our attorney has been working again on our behalf. Rob, we'll just kind of let you just run with this point.
Yeah, there are several moving pieces in this project, so there's no particular order in how to discuss them. Chris King's here with Redevelopment, and I think he needs to give you an update. And Fred and Charlotte are in the back also. I've prepared drafts of the documents that we would need in order to okay the project. And I've sent those, I think you've all seen those. Since I sent those drafts to the working group and to Chris and to Charlotte, I've received comments, so those drafts are still evolving somewhat. For example, in an attempt to be efficient, I combined the $480,000 land resolution in with the $100,000 carrying cost resolution, thinking that that was a clever and efficient way to proceed. But Chris pointed out that our acreage may be 14 acres instead of 12, which is going to eat up quite a bit of that $100,000 carrying cost. So right now, I think what we need to do is break that back into two pieces. So we should pass a resolution that covers the purchasing plan. Chris is going to give us an update on what he knows about how much acres that actually is. And then we ought to pass another resolution that deals just with the $100,000 which is the way we did it on the original project, so that's, the road held was paved with good intentions, I guess. So that's one thing. The second thing is, after I sent those drafts out, Mr. Linville asked, or pointed out that there was no specific provision as to who was covering closing costs on the transfer from Mr. and Mrs. Linville to the city and then from the city to Brunavon. And without thinking, I just said, well, I think the city will cover that. But that really needs to be your decision, not mine. So we need to address that. And then the third thing I thought of, that I haven't mentioned this to Chris, but the way this flowed last time is that Runabaum entered into an agreement with Pesco, and the closing occurred before you ever heard what the final closeout numbers were. And it dawns on me that if we can, what ought to happen is that Runabaum, Runabaum completes the building, finds a buyer. We ought to then have a meeting where we all know what the numbers are gonna be, and then they then go to closing. That seems like it is less mysterious. So I want to address that somehow in the agreement. If anybody has any questions, chime in, and otherwise maybe Chris ought to help add to the conversation. I'm sorry, let me say one more thing. Or maybe a couple more things. As you've heard before, there's about a 6-month lead time for the precast concrete walls. So Runabaum needs to place that order as soon as possible. I don't think Runabaum wants to place the order if they have the risk of paying for it if the project is terminated for some reason. I explained to Chris that really the best that I thought you could do today was to consider a motion to cover those costs if the project is terminated early. But from a technical legal standpoint, you cannot actually commit yourself to that until we've done a 10-day legal notice and you pass a resolution. So I can't give Runabout that assurance legally until June. But if you wanted to consider giving them an informal assurance that you're going to cover that cost if the deal terminates, then we ought to do that. And then there was, I'll stop there. So why don't you take over?
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm Chris King with Runabout Construction, and over the last month or a few months, we've been working through this project and beginning to develop some project budgets. What I think we're ready for at this point is to be, I guess, ready for the June 21st redevelopment commission meeting with a completed redevelopment or completed economic development agreement for the project. And what this would establish is project budget. From that point, we would be able to enter into design. If we can place precast orders prior to that, that would be good. If we can, we certainly understand that we can place it at that time. From a schedule standpoint, what I think we're looking at is a couple months to complete design and permitting, and then maybe 4 to 5 months for construction. So we're thinking that we would be complete, hopefully, right around the end of the year, first part of next year, with the project. Rob, to your comments about closing, I think that's from our perspective, that's no problem at all. We're happy to do that. So we're that's not an issue at all. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I mean, I think as most of you know, we've been looking at the Linville's property. About 14 acres is what it looks like it's going to be just north of PCT. We've got a couple layouts, but really it's getting with some design firms and laying that out, making sure that everything fits and works properly and achieves what we're trying to achieve with the project.
Before we take any questions, Chris, I might also point out that Cheryl Morphew is involved in this as well in some of the discussions and meetings, and Rob Henderson is as well. So, anybody involved in this, feel free to chime in or add your insight into this.
Chris, I got a question for you. from your expert's opinion, timing-wise, how do you feel about where we're at from the timing of getting all this ready to go and you breaking ground and completing this? What's your opinion of that? I mean, should we slow this up? There's probably no way to speed this up because you've already said that you got 6-month lead time on the concrete walls from the day you order it. So there's probably no speeding it up, but is there any slowing it up to put this building on the market at a different period of time? I mean,
Yeah, what I think we're seeing right now is a lot of activity. So there's a lot of interest for this type of product, and just from an industrial perspective, I mean, we're seeing just a lot of projects, a lot of activity. Everything that we do that moves us closer to having a completed building shortens the time of occupancy, for the tenant. So I see that as being an advantage once we start down that path. Even if it's a slower path, everything that we do steps them closer. The nice part about going this route, it really shortens the time that someone can be in a building. If we just started from scratch, from 10 months to a year, down to maybe 3 months, that we can get them into a building once we're complete. So that's the advantage to going this route. So in my opinion, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think obviously we're careful and make sure that we do the right kind of project. But at the same time, the market is really good right now. And one thing I think we saw with the last project is prior to even getting a shovel in the ground, Cheryl was able to submit it for projects that were coming through on the state, and really just, we had several companies that expressed an interest, and were able to work with them to maybe even change the design of the building prior to actually starting.
okay. Fair enough.
Bob, this question is more for you, but due to the importance and timing with the resolution, would it be helpful if we had a special meeting like June 7th, which gives us time to advertise, and could all this data be collected in a format that we could have a resolution for a short meeting and pass to start the green light the project?
I'm not opposed to the June 7th meeting, we just have to look at our schedule to make sure we're available. You're not golfing that day, I take it.
Hopefully I ain't later. How does the rest of the board feel?
I guess my question, and I don't know that there's an answer, is that, one, what sort of cost are we looking at if we, in essence, guarantee this and it falls through? I mean, what are the numbers?
That's
Second question, assuming, heaven forbid, that it falls through and we have to buy this, do we have a place to store this stuff so that we could use it on another project? I'd hate to spend X dollars
So
and nothing.
I could address that. Basically what we're doing is we're placing an order so that we get in line for production. Production will happen for months now. They're just backlogged so much that in order to get in line, we're placing an order. The cost to get in line is nothing to get in line, but once we cancel the product, there's a cancellation fee that we have to address. What I would suggest, if we do a meeting to green light the project, is that we have design proposals for civil, boundary, topo, architectural, that we take some of those and that we bring you those proposals at that date so that we can move forward with that, in addition to ordering the precast. I would say that we have a total exposure, maybe in the neighborhood around 50,000, should the project be canceled, at that point.
By 50, do you mean the cost of concrete or?
It'd be the cost of all of that design work, the cost of the cancellation fee, for the precast. So we could get out and start doing a topo survey, we could do a boundary survey, we could start with architectural design, and be moving the project forward. Otherwise, we would be starting essentially June 21st. It gives us a few more weeks and allow us to go faster with the project.
Are these walls something that could be stored if it fell?
Well, it wouldn't be, you would have an opportunity. What we would do is, I think we would come at, the June 7th meeting and request the 50,000 or if you want to go ahead and do the 100,000 that we talked about for carrying costs, that may just be an easier thing to do. Then we would come up with the full economic development agreement on the June 21st meeting. And that would be, once that's approved, then we're going forward with the project at that point. So there wouldn't necessarily be a cancellation or turning back with that. We would be able to have better numbers, we would have better information for you in that economic development agreement.
Thank you.
Chris, if these were ordered and we're expecting delivery in November, December, I mean, is that timing wise, is that even doable as far as, you know, getting them ready and construction wise, I mean, at that time of year?
Yeah. It's our hope, I mean, 6 months is kind of a long, it's our hope that we could actually get them a little bit sooner than that. You know, right now they're between, you know, they're saying between 5 and 6 months. We might, you know, things may open up a little bit. What they see is people do cancel orders from time to time, so that allows us to get a little bit farther ahead in line. So for right now, that's where we're at.
Is this, gonna ask Bob, is this feasible that, you and Rob can have all this by the 7th?
Yeah, I think the main issue at this point is really just the timing of the advertisement. As long as we have time to advertise, we have all the proposals and everything together that we can do that.
I'm getting some feedback from the wing over here that we wonder if we even need a June 7th meeting, that, you know, everything can be in order and ready to go by June 21st, stay on that timetable. Does it gain us anything to go to June 7th?
And I guess my thought is that we've already really, we already as a group have said we're in favor of this going forward. So at this point, we're just waiting on those final numbers to give that final okay. But my understanding today, if you had some feeling from us that there was a green light, let's get this thing ready, then that's really what you're searching for today, right, Chris? I mean,
We really need to be able to start with that design to get to harder numbers. We can estimate and essentially give a range for the building costs, but if we have design for the site, that's really the key thing for us. If we have that information, if we could start on a topo survey and a boundary survey, that would get us really close.
I guess at this point, I mean, I feel comfortable enough that we've had enough discussions to this point that, you know, we're ready for you to come to us with final numbers but I think the light's there from us to go forward. Right. Yeah.
You know, I get that feeling, I don't know if anybody's talking, you know, anything negatively about it. I'm okay with the June 7th meeting if it gains us something.
Well, I was thinking the way you were speaking, you would not place the order until you had a resolution passed.
I mean, we would need assurance to start spending money because we would start spending a significant amount on the design. So, I mean, our suggestion would be if we could get an approval on a resolution where we could start expending some cost toward the project and that there would be reimbursement should you cancel the project at a certain point. At this point, there's really not been a vote to proceed with the project or proceed with us spending money on the project.
Okay, I think we're okay with June 7th if everybody else is.
Then I would make a motion that we have a short special meeting with one item before June 7th at 8 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, the motion is to have a meeting on June 7th at 8 o'clock, and it's going to be short. Is there any discussion?
And in that meeting, we're gonna have a resolution for operating costs of 50,000, whatever that is. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I would say 100,000 and
Okay.
word it so it would also include reimbursement of costs they incur.
Okay.
Is that the EDA actually we're going to put on that day? That'll be June 21st.
Right.
Okay. So really ours is just to do a resolution for $100,000.
I would prefer to have numbers before I start spending money.
We'll provide you with all that means.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Motion for the June 7th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Nay, rather.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else have anything to add on this? So we're doing the next step of the process, and we'll be back in here on June the 7th. Chris, thank you. The next item are reports, under other business. I'll just pass it over to Krista at this point.
Your April financial report just reflects the resolutions that were approved at your last meeting. Those were added, even if they're TIF projects, I go ahead and add those to this one, and then there's a separate TIF bond for your next one. But that just shows what's been spent through April. Expenditures, $1,163,110.74. Your remaining appropriations for resolutions that are approved this year is $2,120,426. If all of those were spent this year, your estimated cash balance at the end of this year would be $6,129,434. And then moving on to are there any questions on that one? I did rearrange this one a little bit to put these resolutions in chronological order for you as far as projects that have been approved through the TIF bond. And so those are in order by resolution number. Some of those had originally, like we had the original downtown $2 million resolution. Those were broken out into smaller chunks. So you'll see that those are reflected there, and then I've added the ones that were approved at the last month's meeting. Total spent to date is $3,611,972.59, and we have what the balance remaining that has not been appropriated yet is $283,631. Are there any questions on that? There's not a lot of changes in the cash flow analysis. The only thing that was changed was the Shell Building tax issue with Petsco was moved from projects under consideration to the approved projects in the amount of $50,713. We didn't have any projects under consideration for today to add to this. This only tracks projects that are paid out of either the TIF control fund or the capital fund. So this does not track the TIF bond projects, just the yearly TIF bond payment. So there really weren't any changes for this one, for that month, for this month, other than moving that up. Not a lot of activity there.
Any questions?
Krista, on the bypass construction for the roundabouts at the bottom, did Travis not mention that we got state or federal money for part of that?
Yes, and we did, but we just need to update that. We have a resolution that we're paying out of, for the design, but that was for the actual construction, so those just need to be updated once we have those final numbers in. So we had $1.4 million on there for 2015, which we did not spend any of, so you can see there where that was reduced to zero, and then those were kind of just placeholders that we can update once we have those final numbers, but until that design is done, we won't have those exact numbers.
Isn't there two of them?
There's 4, I believe.
Okay.
Any other questions? Rob, you guys all done, it looks like. Sure.
I'll give you an update if you sure. Regarding our HVAC project, all of the demo work has been completed in the attic, in the basement, on the stage. They have completed all of the trunk lines in the attic. We're just waiting for diffusers to be put in the ceiling. The other thing is the air handler is coming in and it weighs a couple tons, so they are having to dismantle part of it and bring it down in 5 pieces into the basement, so there's gonna be some interesting rigging involved to get all of that there. And then the last piece is a platform outside of the building for our 3,100 pound condenser units. So our goal is, it's still June 7th so that we can have the air conditioning on for the Glen Miller Orchestra. But right now, we're chugging away at a pretty good pace. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else have anything?
Farmers market started this weekend. It was pretty cold, but we had a lot of people. It was fun. Yeah, and we have strawberries coming up on May 27th.
That's a big one coming up then. Isn't it?
Yes. I hope to see everyone there.
Thank you, Tara. Anybody else? If not, we'll see you on June the 7th then. Thank you.